Hello, everybody. Happy Easter Sunday afternoon. Hope yours is going well. We've got another Seahawks video to get to today, but first I want to give a shout out to all my subscribers, and special tip of the cap goes to the channel members, especially elite channel members, Brendon, Mikel, Hasher for MVP, VGK Tiger 75, Ryguy, Salacious Crumb, Brendan Nelson's haircut, It's Hoof, the Reno, and TBO. All right, guys, it's day number 3 of taking a look at wide receivers the Seahawks could acquire through the draft. Who is going to be the next rookie sensation at wide receiver for the Seahawks? Could he be in this class? Could he be in this video? We'll find out. So you guys already know what we're looking for. You guys already know what kind of receiver that I think this team might target. So with that in mind, let's start taking a look at the receivers who are possibly not even going to get drafted, who nevertheless have the potential to be very good in the NFL. These are guys who will be lucky to go in the 7th round for the most part. So with that in mind, let's start with prospect number 1, Rico Boucher Jr. All right. So Rico Boucher Jr. spent his last year in Hawaii, but before then he was a North Texas Mean Green receiver. He's 6'2" and 193 pounds, so he's got nice size. He's got a 5-year career in college football, so he's a little older than you might like. First year, 100 receiving yards, 8 catches, 1 touchdown, spot receiver. 2017, he had 47 catches for 677 yards and 7 touchdowns. 2018, he was a stud. 68 catches, 1,000+ yards, and 12 touchdowns. Great season for him. 2019, not a lot going on here, unfortunately. I believe he got hurt. 5 catches, 150 yards, 1 touchdown. And 2020, shortened season, had 31 catches, 274 yards, and 1 touchdown for Hawaii. That was a transfer from North Texas in the final year of his college career. All right. So as for where he might go in the draft, if he goes at all, the Draft Network and ESPN both like him enough to think he might actually go around the 5th round. Walter Football is a little less optimistic. They think he's going to go from the 5th to the 7th. And then Pro Football Focus thinks he's a fringe 7th rounder to UDFA. And Pro Football Network thinks he's going to be a UDFA. So he could go a little higher than the 7th round, but I feel like he's going to be a 6th rounder at best, and I think it's very likely that he's going to be a 7th rounder or UDFA. So what can I say about Rico Boucher Jr.? Well, he's a very explosive athlete. He can make a big play at any time. When I watched him, I noticed that Hawaii did, mostly North Texas did use him as a deep threat a lot, but I also saw some real yard after the catch skills from him. He was very quick and able to move in small areas, which, as we know, we are highly valuing this draft. So I think he's kind of a versatile player. He can kind of do it all. He can go 50 yards down the field and go get it, or he can catch a short pass and turn it into something bigger. He's a good blocker, and he could be a good return man in the NFL. So there are a lot of skills here that should offer versatility and make him a legitimate NFL player if he finds the right situation. He does need to improve his hands. He does have some drops on his record. It was one of the things that prevented him from being a more prolific player probably. But if he can figure that out, I think his athleticism will carry him to at least something of an NFL career. Much of his career was at North Texas before final year transfer to Hawaii, as I said. And this is the first guy who stands out to me as being somebody the Seahawks should target in the 7th round or UDFA. All right, so prospect number 2 now. And this is Simi Fihoko of Stanford. And I must say, as of right now, I think there's a good chance that he goes undrafted or falls to the 7th. He might be a late riser. This guy could end up being a 5th, maybe even a 4th round pick. I think a lot of people like this guy. I think that there's a real chance he ends up becoming more of a 5th to 6th round prospect. But as of right now, I think he's probably going to go around the 7th to the undrafted. So we'll have to keep an eye on him. But Simi Fihoko of Stanford, he's big, 6'4", 277 pounds. His college career, not big time stats, but if you know anything about Stanford football, you might have some idea of why that might be the case. 2019, he had 24 catches for 566 yards and 6 touchdowns. Last year, shortened season because of COVID, 37 catches, 574 yards, 3 touchdowns. So, honestly, in 2020, if he had played a full season, if he had gotten a full slate of games, his stats might have been really impressive. Uh, his approximate draft value is kind of all over the place. Pro Football Focus and Pro Football Network both think that he's going to be like a fifth round pick. The Draft Network thinks he's going to be about a sixth round pick, kind of a late sixth round pick. And ESPN and Walter Football both think he's going to go undrafted. So there's definitely room for him to climb, I think, because he's got a unique skill set. He's very talented. It's just his production that is kind of holding him back a little bit right now. His massive size, massive height, that alone makes you think, could this guy be a good player in the NFL? His speed is quite notable for a player of his stature, making him a tremendous big play threat. He's got good speed. I think his recorded 40 time was like 4.38. I don't think he's actually that fast. That's probably an exaggeration, but he's fast for a guy of his size. I saw him go deep down the field and win a lot of those vertical balls. He's got a great catch radius, as you would expect from somebody of his size. And he knows how to use his size too, by the way. His physicality helps him win contested balls. I saw him against my Huskies last season when Stanford upset us, making many difficult catches to help keep drives alive. He was very impressive in that game, I thought. So he knows how to use his size. He knows how to use his speed. This is a very, very intriguing prospect. And the only downside I really have for Fihoko, other than the fact that he struggled to produce a little bit, was his hands are good, but they're not great. And that's something that could hold him back a little bit. But look for this guy to potentially climb up draft boards in the last month before we get to the draft. Just something to think about. So, yeah. Simi Fihoko is the second prospect I would be interested in taking a very late flyer on. So let's go to number 3. TJ Vasher of Texas Tech. And this guy I have a man crush on. This is probably my favorite. I'm not the only person on my channel who has brought him up before. I know we have a couple of big TJ Vasher fans, but you got to check this one out, guys. Just check this guy out. 22 years old from the Red Raiders, 6'6", 210 pounds. He's a freak, guys. 6'6". His stats have never been over the top. 2016, he just played a couple of snaps, basically. 2017, 29 catches, 545 yards, 6 touchdowns. 2018, he broke out, 54 catches, 687 yards, 7 touchdowns. 2019, 42 for 515 and 6 touchdowns. And 2020, shortened season, 19 catches for 227 yards and 2 touchdowns. As for his value, again, it's kind of all over the place. Walter Football actually thinks he could be a mid-round pick, 4th to 6th. Pro Football Focus thinks he's going to be a 7th-round pick at best and probably undrafted. Pro Football Network and the Draft Network and ESPN all think he's going to be undrafted. And it has nothing to do with his talent. So everyone hold on. Let's talk about this guy. He's massive with a huge catch radius, as you guys can already clearly see. And he's got a great amount of athleticism for his size. I watched this guy play. I'm sorry. I don't want to say that he's going to be the next Randy Moss. It is impossible to watch this guy and not think about Randy Moss. He's got great hands. He's got great body control. I saw him contort his body to make all kinds of amazing one-handed and, reaching back and crazy grabs for big plays. And he's got tremendous potential for run after the catch. So this guy should be able to fit in multiple roles. And if he can figure out a few things, this guy, I'm not going to say he's the next Randy Moss because that's insane. But watching him play, that's who I thought of. Just putting that out there. Some downsides to him would be he's got some off-field issues to worry about, does TJ Vasher. There is some concern about his love for football. It seems like that was one of the reasons why he never became a breakout TTU prospect, because we all know that if you're a wide receiver at Texas Tech, you have the potential to put up monster stats, and he just never did. It could be like a Greg Oden type situation where it's hard to say if he actually loves the sport enough to really excel in it. And he is a little lean for his height, but I'm sorry, if he actually is there in UDFA and we don't get him, I'm going to cry. That's how much potential this guy has. This guy's a freak. Go watch his highlight reel and tell me you didn't think of Randy Moss. All right, so that's prospect number 3 and probably my favorite of this video. So prospect number 4. This is Marlon Williams of UCF. And this guy's 22 years old. He's 6 feet tall and 222 pounds. So he's pretty chunky. I don't want to say he's fat, but he's got good girth to him, I guess you could say. And he started out his career at UCF pretty anonymously, 270 yards, 234 yards. 2019, he started to break out, 51 catches, 700 yards, and 6 touchdowns. And then he had a full breakout year in 2020, 71 catches, 1,039 yards, and 10 touchdowns. This is another guy who has potential to go much higher than I'm currently giving him credit for. The Sporting News actually thinks he's going to be a 3rd-round pick, and the Draft Network thinks he's going to be a 4th-round pick. But Pro Football Network, Pro Football Focus, ESPN, and Walter Football all think he's going undrafted. So I don't know who's right here, but it seems to me that he's probably going to be a late-round pick at best, very late, and probably going to go undrafted. So Marlon Williams, he played the big slot in college, and he was very good at it. He had great hands and great ball skills. He was physical. He won a lot of contested catches, and he's very good at making yards after the catch. He's very good at breaking tackles, very good at making guys miss. He fights for balls and makes great catches in traffic. He's somebody who can absolutely be a great chain mover, at the very least, I think, if he finds the right NFL situation. Limited route tree so far. It seems like he's mostly limited to more underneath stuff, but he knows how to utilize his body and size in order to make tough catches and contribute that way too. So Marlon Williams would be prospect number 4, who I would have some interest in. And I think he's probably going to go undrafted, so it should be pretty easy to get him. And final prospect, 5th and final prospect of this video will be Damon Hazelton of Missouri. In this picture, Virginia Tech, but players transfer around all the time when they're not top prospects. So, Damon Hazelton, 24 years old, already kind of aged for a rookie from Missouri. He's got good size, 6'2", 215 pounds. And his college football career was solid, not spectacular. 2016, 50 for 500 and 4 touchdowns. Really nice freshman year. He missed 2017. And then in 2018, he had 51 catches, 800 yards, 8 touchdowns. Very nice breakout season for him. 2019, he took a step back, 31 catches, 527 yards, 8 touchdowns. And 2020 was a kind of a disappointment, 30 for 400 yards and 1 touchdown. Couple of rush attempts, but he had very little success on it, so I don't think that's really a consideration for him. And basically, the Draft Network thinks he's maybe going to be a 7th rounder, but probably undrafted, and everyone else thinks he's going undrafted. Pro Football Network, Pro Football Focus, ESPN, Walter Football. This guy, somewhat unlikely to make any big splashes at the draft, but he's got a big catch radius. He's got good ball skills. He makes a lot of tough catches. Did good work for Missouri last year in doing that, even though his stats were obviously muted. He's also very evasive after the catch. You guys know how I feel about that skill set this year. He seems like somebody who can catch a lot of short passes and do something with it. He's got good vision and footwork. He makes players miss, and he's got long strides. So he's actually a pretty decent athlete all around, outside of the fact that he's not very fast, which we'll get to in a second here. But he shows some pretty decent wide receiver skills in other areas. One concern I have is he's not very physical. Yeah, he's big, but he unfortunately doesn't use his size as well as he could so far. And like I said, his speed is not great. So this is certainly a guy who probably belongs on the bottom end of a draft board, if at all. He's already 24 years old too, so he's unlikely to get much better, but he's an intriguing prospect. So, that's everybody, guys. Those are all the receivers in this draft who caught my eye when I was trying to scout them out. We have a lot of different options. We went over, I believe, 15 players in total. And I know I didn't get everybody. There are probably one or two other receivers that are worth talking about. But these are the guys I think the Seahawks could target, who I want them to target. So, since we have a little bit of time, let's go through everybody once again. So, second to third round guys, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Dyami Brown, Nico Collins, Sage Surratt. Fourth round to sixth round wide receivers would be Josh Palmer, Austin Watkins, Emer Smith-Marset, Frank Darby, Seth Williams, Des Fitzpatrick, and seventh round or UDFA wide receivers I would consider Rico Boucher, Simi Fihoko, TJ Vasher, Marlon Williams, Damon Hazelton. And that is pretty much the end of the line for wide receivers for me. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I hope you enjoyed my scouting. Next up, we're going to be starting our full NFL-wide mock draft tomorrow, so keep an eye out for that. And after that, we're going to start on another position of high need for the Seahawks, center. See you guys tomorrow.